The South is getting slammed with what the National Weather Service calls a generational winter storm event. Bone-chilling temperatures have 40 million people from Texas to the Carolinas under winter weather alerts. Cities not accustomed to harsh, cold weather are bracing for potentially historic snowfall. Temperatures dropped to below freezing Monday night in Texas. A blizzard warning was issued for the first time for parts of Louisiana's Gulf Coast. That area could see wind gusts of up to 35 miles per hour. Forecasters say driving conditions will be extremely dangerous. Hundreds of flights have been canceled already. Schools are closing in states including Texas, Louisiana, and Georgia. Snowfall totals are expected to break records dating back to 1963, possibly riveting records set in the late 1800s. More than 220 million people across 40 states are being affected by bitterly cold air, with the upper Midwest and northern plains likely to experience wind chill temperatures as low as 55 degrees below zero this week. These temperatures, if exposed to the skin, can cause hypothermia as little as 5 minutes. Joining us now is Dr. Mina Marhom, assistant professor at Columbia University. Hey, doctor, how are you today?
Hey, Tom, doing well. Thank you for having me.
You look warm, but yesterday was Blue Monday, and people are feeling blue this week with these cold temperatures. What advice or tips can you give people who have to go out in the cold?
Yeah, the people certainly are, and we're walking through this with patients because according to the CDC, there are over 1,300 deaths annually from this bitter cold weather. This is part of the reason why around New York City right now we're in code blue, which is a dangerous warning for folks who are unhoused and living on the street, because you can begin to have this potentially fatal symptoms of hypothermia or frostbite within 5 to 15 minutes. So the first thing I share with patients is that obviously if you can stay warm and stay inside, that would be great. But the second best thing is to look out for the subtle signs and symptoms of hypothermia with an acronym called NUMB that I share with patients.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you know when you're starting to get hypothermia? When should you be concerned? Is it like a tingling feeling in your fingers? I mean, please explain.
Sure thing. So the first couple of signs that I share with patients in this acronym to try to help them remember with NUMB, first is if there's any numbness in our extremities, fingers, toes. Second is the U there is unusual changes in skin color. If it begins to turn blue, if you begin to see discoloration. The M is for mottled skin, if it becomes a little bit hardened or a little bit of a waxy appearance. And then B, if any kind of blisters begin to appear. Any of these signs that you see prompt you to immediately get medical attention, because hypothermia or frostbite can be very dangerous.
And what advice do you have for parents dressing up their children to go sledding, or adults who play sports in the cold, like ice hockey up in Minnesota and Wisconsin? Any thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I work with a lot of professional athletes on the NHL level and otherwise. A couple of things that we really want to make sure of. First is making sure that we're staying hydrated, whether you're playing hockey outside and you're going to be in a very competitive environment. Secondly is making sure that what you're wearing actually beneath the layers outside remains dry, because if what you're wearing comes closer to your skin, becomes wet, that could be another risk factor to getting hypothermia or frostbite. So staying hydrated, making sure what's close to you is warm and dry rather, and then taking breaks, making sure that you're not staying outside for an extended period of time. If you're watching football perhaps and watching a game outside, consuming alcohol can also diminish your ability to have a perception of that cold. So it's another area that I caution patients about too.
And as we mentioned, yesterday was Blue Monday, the third Monday of January. And a lot of people get stuck indoors because of this cold weather, and it has a negative psychological effect. What can people do to keep their spirits up?
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. As you mentioned, we were talking off air, the Blue Monday has this trifecta there of the after effect of Christmas, where all the holidays and all the wonderful celebrations are hitting. Now the bills start to pile up, as well as the weather is really hitting us. And we're seeing that there's much less option as far as being able to go outside and have a productive sort of outdoor activity. So a few things that we walk patients through. There's actually a great new study that just came out that highlighted that folks can be able to get the benefit of sunlight. One of the struggles, especially in the Northeast, is not being around sun. You can have an indoor sun exposure, which is bright light therapy. This could be very helpful for folks who are battling seasonal depression. And even if you're not, this study showed that there can be benefit there. And another thing that you can have there as well is supplementation. Vitamin D supplements is another area that we become deficient in when we're not able to be outside. And the third one I would say is community. Even if you have to be inside, if in our mental health as well.
Yeah, even like if it takes going to a gym, and meeting other people, or, like you said, a coffee shop or something to get some exposure, right? Or library.
Yeah, being with others is a huge factor. The more we can have like-minded people that we can spend time with, in the longest study that looked at how we prevent depression and how we can maintain happiness, relationships and connection were the number one factor. So that's something I always discuss with patients.
Doctor, thanks so much for joining us, and I'd love to have you back.
Thank you for
Take
having me,
care.
Tom. Appreciate it.
Take care. Southern California saw scattered small fires amid strong winds that were expected to peak today. A very